Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. For those of you who haven't tuned in before, welcome. If you're back viewing again, welcome back. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, my name's Rich and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport. We can be found on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram primarily, also on YouTube for these. So just search for the Hard Compound on any of those. And come and join the fun. We're here simply to share a love of all things motorsport across the motorsport spectrum. And we do that with 3 written articles every day, morning, lunchtime and evening here in the UK, whatever time that is, wherever you're tuning in from. And these take the form of race reviews, race previews, throwbacks, birthdays, breaking news, any like livery reveals, and anything else that we like to cover, really. Anything else that's going on in the world of motorsport, we try and cover it. F1 to touring cars, Porsches to IndyCar, NASCAR, rallying, bikes, and everything else in between. So do come along and join the fun. In case you hadn't noticed, we also do live video interviews, just like this one. And just like this one, these are streamed on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. Head over there and give us a follow and subscribe. You can see them all there. These are automatically saved in the video section on Facebook and in the live section on our YouTube. We've had some fantastic guests. We're approaching 150 now. I'm not going to name them all, but we have had some very, very good guests in the past. We've had the honour and the privilege of speaking with Mr. Mario Andretti, with Mr. Jackie Ickx and John Watson and Hans Stuck, Brian Redmond, Chip Ganassi from the rallying world. We've spoken with Malcolm Wilson, with Petter Solberg. We've spoken with a lot of F1 and sports car drivers, Le Mans winners like Stefan Johansson, Derek Warwick, Mark Blundell, David Brabham. Carl Wendlinger, Mika Salo. We've spoken with Takuma Sato, Jack Aitkins come on for a chat, Callum Ilott, Jamaria Bruni, Tommy Byrne, Will Power, Alex Palou, Ari Lyondike, Alonso Jr. But if you're tuning in tonight, you might like your touring cars and your Toka package. We've spoken with a lot of guys, past and present from there, guys like Steve Soper, Matt Neal, John Cleland, Ivan Muller, Anthony Reid, Gabriele Tarquini, Fabrizio Giovanardi, Andy Prio. We've spoken with Paul Radicic, with Greg Murphy, and we've spoken with people who have crossed over from Porsches to touring cars, like Stephen Jelly, Dan Lloyd, Ollie Jackson, and Abby Eaton, which brings us very nicely on to this evening. And I'm going to start rambling soon, because our guest is a BTCC race winner. He has won multiple races in the Porsche Carrera Cup. He's a Ginetta Junior champion. And he's raced in a bit of single seaters as well. And he's had a very busy day, so I'm very grateful that he's joined us this evening. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring him in right now. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Century Motorsports, George Gamble.
Hello. Hi there.
Evening. George, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you, Rich. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
No, good. Well, thank you for coming on. I mean, we've been trying to get it over the line, haven't we? But I'm busy, yes. You're busy, everyone's busy. But no, we finally managed it. Thank you very much for coming on. I know you've had a busy day and I know you've got a bit of a drive after this. So thank you for squeezing us in.
Yeah, that's cool, mate. Yeah, no, really appreciate you having me on. Talk about the racing and whatnot. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, best way to spend an evening, I find, talking motorsport. It's all good. Yeah, great stuff. Just quickly, I want to turn attention very quickly to the comment section across the various channels. There's a lot of you tuning in already, which is lovely to see. Thank you very much. Guys, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, not Instagram, the other one, YouTube, do pop some comments in, have a chat amongst yourselves, and we'll try and work all your questions and comments in if we can. I just want to say hello to Hoppers, Andy Hopley from Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs. Go and check him out on Facebook. He's a good lad. We like him. Sheila Kersley from Kersley Motorsport. Go and check them out as well. Our good friend Nikki from near the Nürburgring, Eiffel, Ronaldo is in. John Cavill, Tracy Hickley, John Kane, Keith Mayo, and all these other guys as well. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. And pop some questions, comments in, and we will work them in as best we can. Right, George, first, before we get really stuck into it, you were at Goodwood at the weekend, weren't you?
Yeah. Me and an old teammate of mine, Seb Perez. We actually went down on the Sunday just for a bit of a nosy. The weather wasn't great, obviously. It sort of was a bit of a wet one down there, but raced there last year in the Ford Water Cup race, which was just a grid, basically a 1960s grid of Porsches. Literally what I'm doing now, but just like the 60s version, all 2-litre air cooled. And yeah, we finished 4th last year, but unfortunately, it's like a once in a 10-year race. They don't do it every year. It was a feature one, so yeah, it was good to go back actually Sunday and just watch, get amongst the atmosphere there. It's a pretty special event if you've not been before. It's everyone dressed up in the in the classic tweed sort of look and all that. Everyone's gets amongst the eras. So
yeah, I saw Tom Ingram went full tilt, didn't he? I saw that he went full whack with his outfit, and there was plenty of others as well. But yeah, it's a cool event on the old circuit as well, which is always good to see. I mean, I was at Goodwood for a day at the Festival of Speed, and I got sunburnt, so there was no danger of that happening. Was there?
No, it's certainly very different. Like last year, it was the hottest weekend of the year. It was like 35 degrees. This year was freezing, but the feature race was really good. It was good to see some of the lads we know battling it out, especially right down to the last lap. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed watching that. Sort of got me fired up, trying and get him, be a part of that next year. So it's got to be one of the coolest races of the season, I think, down at Goodwood.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely have to do a piece on that. No, fantastic. So I mean, obviously that's the present, the most recent present, and we'll come to this season as well shortly. But what I'd like to do, if we can, is start kind of right back at the start. I mean, where did your interest in motorsport come from, and when did you first want to have a go yourself?
Yeah, I think it probably stemmed from my dad. Really, he was the one that got us into racing. Me and my brothers all started out, in a paddock, flying around on quads and motocross bikes, and soon become apparent we wasn't any good on 2 wheels, so with injuries and stuff. So
which is probably for the best.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So a lot of my friends raced some bikes and that, and yeah, I was just injuring myself trying to keep up with them. So, but yeah, it's so we started doing the go-karting, and I started a bit later than my younger brother Tom. So sort of got into the Super One, the British Champs, and things like that, and then sort of decided to go to Ginetta Juniors when I was about 14. And then that sort of made a bit of a path for my brother. He went a similar way. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed getting into cars early on. A lot of people tended to stay and do karting till they were 16, 17, and then go to the single seater route. But I did a little bit of single seaters when I was 16 in Formula Renault Bark Championship in the UK. But yeah, I really enjoyed getting into sort of sports cars and having the things sliding around and racing them from such a young age and having good success as well in Ginetta Juniors. So I think that was a really good sort of starting point for my car racing career.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously there's so many that have started in karts. I mean, there's a few of the older school guys who've started on 2 wheels in motocross and stuff, and I think they found out the hard way that it can hurt. And although the person was Rick Parfitt Jr., he said he learned to race racing lawnmowers against the members of Queen.
Yeah,
which is fairly standard practice.
Yeah, that's something a bit different for sure.
Yeah, good lad. But yeah, I had a quick look over sort of your little, just a few of like your karting results and stuff, and you had a few years where you were sort of just learning. Yeah, it's like learning, how to race and how to go kart.
I think karting for me was we did it, but not properly, really. My sort of career really got going when I went into Ginetta Juniors. I did, that was like when I was karting. I never really did a full campaign of anything. If I did this, I did the last couple of years of Super One, but the sort of my rookie year, I broke my leg and missed out on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that was 2009. I broke my leg. Oh. So then I got going again at the end of the year, but then winter came in, and then to be quick in karting, you've got to be doing a lot of racing, a lot of weekends, and I think I came 10th in Super One, which would be the British Championship, and the first 9 of that championship have all gone on to do some pretty cool stuff. Alex Albon, Jake Dennis, it was a serious grid. So there was a lot of people then that have gone on to do some cool things. So but with my height and stuff, I just decided it was better to get into cars earlier, and it was a good decision for me. My brother and as well, Tom, he started really, really young in karts, and we did the same with him. And you know, it's a good way of learning the tracks in the UK at an early age and things like that. And sort of getting the feel of suspension, and it's quite different to karting, but for sure you do learn a lot of racecraft in karting. I think that's what some people maybe miss out on when they've not had that opportunity as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that was something that actually did catch my eye when I was looking over sort of the time you were in karting. And you mentioned, you're racing against like Jake Dennis and Ed Jones, who's gone out to IndyCar.
Yeah, Ed Jones, yeah.
And Alex Albon as well. I mean, it's some pretty, there's some talent.
There was loads of us, Ben Barnicoat, Sam Fielding, loads of lads that all doing professional careers. So it's good to see you was amongst some of the best at the time.
Yeah, it just goes to show as well that there's routes through karting. I mean, just very quickly on karting, it is getting very expensive, isn't it? I mean, there's talk about the Toka Junior series that's come in and the money involved with that, but people are saying at top level karting's not that much cheaper than the Toka Junior, is it?
No,
the numbers that are being banded around.
A little bit out of the loop with it all, but I think the problem is with karting, like to be competitive, you've got to be out a lot, and that's where the expense comes. When there's 50 odd weekends a year, and you're having to race 40 of them, it's quite time consuming. And we were lucky with me. I only sort of used to do 10, 12 weekends a year, but when Tom did it, I was old enough to take him to the events and mechanic for him, and it meant that the family could still go to work. So it was. Right. It's a struggle, if you can't 40 weekends a year, Thursday, Friday off, that's where it gets, costs escalate. Doing it every weekend. So but that's the sort of level you've got to be at to compete now, I think, at the front. So it soon runs away with itself, for sure. That's when the car stuff's quite good, because there's a lot of testing bans, and once the season starts, that's it. You're not allowed to test. It's like the Carrera Cup this year. Once the season's started, you're not allowed to do any additional testing, which keeps the CAS cap down a lot, And
it's certainly the official test, isn't it? There was one at Croft recently and one at Thruxton I was down at. I was actually going to grab you there, but I didn't. But
if you've got the official ones, but anything outside of that, it's got to be for a reason. You've had a car rebuild or something like that. So it's a good thing for. I mean, heaven knows that might be what the karting sort of route needs, something like that. But no, I really enjoyed karting. It was a big part of my early life. So
yeah, good stuff. And obviously, you said you raced. I've got here for good. It was a good 3 or 4 years, and you said that you wanted to make the step up to cars. Obviously, I always ask this to different people who have taken different routes, because some have gone from karts into the single seaters, into Formula 4, things like that, or into like Renault or whatever it might be, and they found it very easy because it was like a bigger like a bigger kart with a gearbox type thing. But you went into Ginetta's, which obviously you're sitting on one side of the car or the other. Was it for you? Was it a challenge to get used to sort of depth perception, sitting on one side of the car, the roll of the car, and all that kind of stuff? Because some people say they took to it very easily, others said they didn't. I was wondering what your...
Yeah, it's very true. There was sort of the era when I went into Ginetta Juniors, I took to it really quick into a car, but I hadn't necessarily been that quick in a go-kart. If anything, I was probably, it was quite surprising for me to see how much better I went in a car with suspension. So I was like, from a young age, we've got a family business buying and selling cars. So I was used to, flying around the yard in like all the Partexes and like little banger minis, Cooper cities that were like 50 quid. I learned to drive at a young age. So it suited me to a T. I was loving it. But loads of successful karters came over and, there's that delay with the suspension. It's not as responsive, and the power's different. You've got gears, clutch, there's a lot more going on. And it was funny. It took some people noticeably longer to get going than others, but no, I really enjoyed it and got going quick. But having said that, I think when I was younger, there wasn't as many opportunities with like the F4s, the GB4, the GB3. Then it was like out of karting into Formula Renault, and it was like, you could be up against some lads in the mid-20s and you're 16. It's like you know, there's I think there's a lot more opportunity now for single seaters when, you know, in that initial sort of championship when you're learning and not quite so much pressure. For like say jumping straight into a Formula Renault car was quite daunting back then, but I think there's some really good options now.
Yeah, which is good, and obviously, you know, they all cost. We know that motorsport costs money, and that's always going to be the case. But it's, as you say, it's a good point. You know, there are other, you know, there's plenty of routes that you can go down. Obviously, the Ginetta for you was, I guess, the most logical one. Was it the Winter Series? Was it 2010? Wasn't it? I think you got into it. How did it come about? Was it with HHC Motorsport? Was it? I can't remember. Yes, it was HHC. How did it all come together from karts to cars? Did you? Because there's a lot of people that we speak to, and then they always say and then I met this person.
Yeah.
Was that the case with you going into cars, or was it just?
Yeah, we sort of. I think it was Pembury. It was my first tracker race. And yeah, just got the bug for it. You know, it was a wicked concept. Like, I think you had 4 races over 2 days, so it was like, you know, proper baptism of fire. Proper enjoyed it, and
it was Pembury, wasn't it?
Pembury, that was it. Yeah, so it was bleak, you know, raining.
Cold.
I can remember in one of the races, like, I think it was my first race, didn't know what was going on. Somebody threw a load of mud up at the screen, smeared it with a window wiper, couldn't see a thing. I was like so embarrassed to pull in the pits, but I literally couldn't see a thing. So I was like, that was my first race, like kind of over, because I couldn't see anything through the mud. But yeah, no, I just really enjoyed it. Got better over the whole weekend, learnt loads, you know, doing the standing starts is something new and things like that. So yeah, and then we decided to do a deal to race in the championship the following year, and finished like 3rd overall in my first season, and won the Winter Series the following year, I think. And then so within a year we went from sort of, you know, just starting out to like 3rd in the championship and winning the Winter Series the following year. So I never really thought of it like that. But yeah, no, it was a wicked first season. Got loads of podiums. I was against Charlie Robertson and Seb Morris for the championship. So it was you know, these quick lads, and me and Charlie was the rookies that year. So we was battling it out. We had a good year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just had a quick look over the results you had the year. I mean, you went straight in with 6th and 5th at Brands, and then was it you won? You took pole and won in your 5th race at Thruxton.
Yeah, that was, and at the time it was I can remember it because it was like the youngest ever. I've been picked by a few now. I think Lando Norris and a few others, young guns, that did the championship the following years because I was still 14 when I won. So it was like, at the time it was the youngest circuit win, and then Charlie won the next time out. He broke it and it got knocked back. But yeah, at the time it was really sort of cool achievement.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big fan of Thruxton, mainly because it's my nearest one. It's just about half an hour down that way. I always think it's a very cool circuit to win on because it's super quick, but it's quite grippy, isn't it? And you can really give it some welly around there, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's changed a little bit over the years for the better. You know, Thruxton's one of my favourite. It's annoying because I've never really sort of managed to replicate my results there since I was a junior, but I've always liked the place. So yeah, it was actually probably the best year I've had since then, which is probably it's 14 years ago. It was this year. So yeah, well, we had 2 seconds. So that's sort of the best I've had at Thruxton, I think, since I was 14. So it took a few years, but we got back up there. So
we can just start another run of good results at Thruxton. It's going to kickstart it. No, which is cool. I mean, and as you say, you finished 3rd overall. You just missed out on 2nd. I think it was by 3 or 4 points. I think. But it was like Seb Morris, didn't he? He absolutely just bossed it that year. He absolutely smashed it.
He was the man to beat that year, and me and Charlie was in our first season of cars, and Seb was in his second. So you know, he was like me and Charlie the second year, you know, just had that little bit of an edge in the early season and then managed to sort of maintain his lead throughout the year. So, yeah, it was a tough one to beat. It would have been interesting had he not been there. Maybe me and Charlie would have been two rookies going for the championship. But no, nonetheless, it was still a really good year. So.
Sorry, not that over. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a quick look at the points thing, and I thought that exact same thing. I thought, God, if Seb Ross wasn't there, that would have been a belting end to the season. Just before we move on to 2012, I've just seen that Adam Morgan is in. Evening, Adam.
Yes. Thanks for
that.
Hair comment, Adam. He's noticed it.
A haircut. I wasn't going to say.
I thought you was being quiet on that one.
No. I can't comment on hair. Look, mine's anyway. But yeah, and he's made a reference to Philip Senderos. Goodness me, I don't know if anyone
Felipe Senderossi. That was our code name in the Sicily touring car year. So if it was a good session, one of us had really sent it. So that one's stuck around.
Yeah, that's great because, like, for my sins, I'm an Arsenal supporter, and he used to play for Arsenal, so I'm a big fan, bit of a cult hero, Philip Senderos. So I'm glad you did that. Sent it, nice one. But evening, Adam. I hope you're well. We'll see you at Silverstone in a few weeks' time. Keith Mayo, Arsenal player, absolutely right. That is the one in the comments. Anyway, digressed. 2012. I saw you only did a couple of rounds that year. How come?
Yeah, so that was like a bit of a budget issue that year, and we had the championship went to slicks, and it made it really expensive. Like we'd gone from sort of a set of road tyres and Ginetta Juniors to like a set of slicks, and they're probably like 4 times the price. So a lot of people went over budget and had to do a lot of pre-season testing because the cars hadn't been run on slicks before, and then we had a lot of damage at Donington, and it just wasn't going to plan really. So we ended up pulling out. But did the last 2 rounds of that was the year I did the full Moreno Winter Series. So yeah. Sort of missed out on the championship a bit really, which I was a bit gutted at the time, but I got some valuable experience from the Floreno Bark Championship where we had some. That was another sort of series that there was a lot of front running drivers in. I think Jack Aitken was in it that winter, and Seb Morris jumped up to it after doing the season in it, and there was a lot of quick drives on the grid, and it sort of rained for the whole championship as it always seemed to. But it was still really, really good. Learned loads, and I think then I might have had a season off. The thing was at the time then my youngest brother was starting to do karting and do quite well, and it'll kill me for admitting this, but I actually used to really enjoy. At the time, we were arguing like cat and mouse, but cat and dog. But they, I really enjoyed sort of helping Tom as well with his karting, and he was getting really quick on the sort of British Championship level. So that was going on as well. So I was trying to do my racing, but if there wasn't an opportunity, then it was like, well, we would go karting with Tom, and it was always really busy. So I think the next sort of couple of years, I was just focused on him really, and he had a couple of top threes in the British Championships and some really good results, and just sort of decided to sort of coach him a bit really for a few years.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool, taking a step back, just look after your little brother and stuff like that, Things like, I am a little brother, and my older brother never did anything like that for me.
At the time, you wouldn't have thought he was very appreciative, but looking back now, I think he is. Yeah, like I say, when we used to come into Parc Ferme and we'd be arguing because he's come second, and he was like, looking back now, it's crazy. He come second in the British Championship, and we were like, well, gutted. So, it was really cool years actually, and I think I learned a lot as well helping him. And then when I got back into racing again, it was really sort of grateful because I'd missed out on a couple of years. So.
Yeah, it kind of worked for everyone, which is great. Just quickly before that, I mean, it was 2014. I mean, it was that full season with Total Control Racing. It was a pretty good year in the Ginetta Junior Championship because, in a nutshell, you won it.
The GT5 one. Yeah, that was first year back. Full championship campaign, and like I say, we won that. Pretty comfortably. So it was really good. Yeah.
I mean, one thing I was going to say that season, though, I mean, you had a whole bunch of wins. I mean, was it, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 or 8 wins, something like that. And you took a hat trick of second places out in Belgium at Spa. We all know Spa. Was that the first time you'd been there? And also, what was it like to race? Given that I mean, no disrespect to sort of places like Pembury and Thruxton, which are great circuits, but Spa's a different beast, isn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely a bit of a beast there, that place. So it was wicked, and it was actually really good in like a GT5 car because it may be a little bit underpowered for the track, but it made the racing insane. So there was, sort of 4 or 5 of us slipstreaming for the lead and things like that down the back straight. So, but it was it was a wicked weekend, and really enjoyed that championship. It was brilliant. All the Ginetta Championships I did was always fantastic, and I was lucky enough that the ones I did, there was some really tough competition. Like that year with Ollie Chadwick and Dennis Strandberg, a few more that come to mind, but it was really, really good season. So and big thanks to Lee and the lads that the team. It was a good year, that was.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking that when you've won loads of races, this might just be me and the way I'd be thinking, because I'm far too competitive for my own good. I'd probably have been, even though I'd come on the podium 3 times in Spa, I'd have thought, I could have won there. That's probably what I would have thought. Was that ever in your head, thinking, I nearly won at Spa?
Yeah, it was annoying because I don't like reeling off excuses, but we had a good engine that year, and then it went bang, or it didn't go bang, but it was using oil, and it was
Right.
on the test week we were really quick, and we ended up having a new engine for the race weekend. So, if you look at the results, the first race I was second and absolutely miles behind the leader. I was just defending for dear life. And then we managed to get this engine running a bit better and a bit better. And by the last race, I pushed him over the line. So we closed down the lead loads, but we had to come from a long way because the engines were brilliant in that championship. They were non-turbo, just all 1.8, I think like a Z-Tech engine or something like that. But you did have to kind of run them in and do a bit of running on before they came alive. And we chucked it in before quali and managed to sort of, get the pace out of the car by the last round of the weekend. But yeah, it was quite an important weekend really, because it sort of could have gone one way or the other. It was close for the championship, and we've got a new engine in the car. It was we really didn't have a clue what this thing was like. We didn't get time to get it on the dyno, so we just had to roll with it, and and the roll with it, we got 3 seconds out of it in Spa, so it was not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would have been nice to get a win there, but obviously from the way the weekend started, absolutely take.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
3 podium finishes. And then obviously it was good points for the championship, and it was a championship that you secured at Donington Park, which I know is your home circuit, isn't it? It's your nearest one. That must have been good. Doing it so close to home, and I guess having some friends and family pretty close.
Yeah, that was really cool. The great thing with the Ginetta Championships is because we had that sort of win that year, we managed to carry the momentum, and you get some help. And the next championship, your prize was at the time you get a car for the G55s, which I didn't use the next year because I think I had another year off. But then I come back and did the Ginetta Super Cup a few years later, in the Amigos car. So that was it was cool to sort of win in juniors, do the GT5, and then the Super Cup, the top championship, and that was another wicked year. Really, it had its sort of battles as well, but we managed to get a top 3, I think, in that championship, 3rd overall.
Yeah, I've got that. You took 3rd overall, and because obviously, just for those listening, I mean, obviously, 2014 you did your championship win, then as you mentioned, you had a couple of years out, doing some coaching with your brother and stuff. 2017, this was, you were back in the GT4, wasn't it? The Amigos car was cool, cool looking car. I mean, having been out of it, did you have any expectations going into the season? Were you thinking, I might be a bit rusty here, or am I going to be competitive, or I can still do this?
Yeah. I mean, I always got a lot of sort of self-confidence in my ability, but you do doubt, you don't know where you're going to be and things like that. So you don't really know where you are until the first round, when everyone's fully weighted up on similar tyres, and that's when we are. And we went out and polled it. So I was like, oh, this could be good this year. So I was like, had another year off, come back, and we got going again. But yeah, it's tricky when you've had a season off, because although you might not have been racing the same car, you're just a bit sharper with your reactions and car control and the track knowledge. And it's been really good for me this year in Porsche, because I've raced two touring cars the last couple of years. I've been on all the tracks, so you see every year there's subtle little changes. Curbs, have been, say Silverstone they might have took the Astro up and put the green paint down, or there's all these little bits you see when you're racing every year. So it does help a lot, and keeping that momentum going season to season. But that was a good year. We started with JHR, and out of the block was pole, and had a couple of wins, I think, at Brands. So yeah, it was.
I've got pole, fastest lap, and a win at Brands, which is a pretty good return, isn't it?
Yeah, that was it. So yeah, it was a good start to the year, and had another pole at Donington, I think, and he sort of had a bit of a lull in the mid-season while we had a team change, and
that was the Donington and Alton Park round. I saw the results just sort of wobbled a bit, because it was
that's it. Yeah, we had to swap teams. We had to go to Rob Boston. There's a bit of drama went on, so we ended up going across there, but then finishing the year really strong, and coming back a bit. We had some problems that year. We had a power steering belt go in qualifying, but then started last for the first race and come second from the back of the grid. Some really cool things like that. Rockingham that was, which is a shame we don't go there anymore. But that was a wicked place. But yeah, it was. It had its ups and downs that year, but some wicked results to show for it. So.
Yeah, I saw there's a strong finish at Silverstone and Brands, which obviously two big, classic circuits here. Nice to sort of get some positive results there at the end of the season. And as we touched on before, third overall. It's a pretty good return in a series you hadn't raced in before.
Yeah, definitely. The thing that I've had a bit of it this year as well, where if you have an issue in race one, the DNF race one, then you've got to start last in race two. And that's where it's the double killer. If you sort of lose out in the last race of the day, it's not the end of the world. Like in touring cars, if you get knocked out of the third race or the first race, at least you've got that middle race to sort of try and do something. But yeah, I kept getting issues in race one, so then I'm starting last. Then you got to charge through in race two, and maybe have a result in race three. So unfortunately, I've had that a couple of times this year. We had an issue at Brands at start 18th, and we got up to 4th there, and the drama at Donington just now, we had not qualifying, having to climb 20 places on the Sunday. So I'm really keeping it alive, but it's been testing.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously obviously that's in the Porsches this year, which we're going to come to sort of now, really, because end of 17 you've done all the Ginetta stuff, and you've tried a bit of single seaters and things like that. I guess the Carrera Cup was the logical step for you after Ginetta's. I mean, I guess you weren't really looking at any others. It was, I guess, that kind of run up the TOCA ladder was your goal, I guess. Yeah,
it was. It was. I've always really liked the Porsches. And with all the sponsorship in Britain, and a lot of logistically work to stay on the TOCA package, and what better than the Porsche Carrera Cup Championship. So we had 2 years of that. We won the rookie championship in the first year, had like 3 or 4 wins in the debut season, and was third overall the second year. Had a few wins as well. Did the double at Silverstone, which is quite tricky with the reverse grid. So that was a wicked result in 2019. But just had a bit of bad luck that year, really. It was a hell of a hard year. I feel like I missed out on second by 1 point, but with trying to beat Dan Harper that year, that he was the overall champion, and he was absolutely rapid. And I was probably overstepping, trying to keep it alive, and had a DNF in probably 3 races. So you can't be doing that in a championship like championship like Carrera Cup. It's only 10 points for a win, 1 point for pole, fastest lap. You've got to even if you're finishing 5th, 6th, you've got to stay in the mix. So this year I've had a few DNFs, so I'm lucky to be in the fight. Really, everyone's had a bit of a tough year this year in the top 3. So, but yeah, to win these championships, I think you've got to be super consistent and hopefully can do that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see in that season it was with like Team Parker, who were like, we all know how good they've been in Porsches, and they've had a spell in the BTCC. So again, like a team local to you, I believe.
Yes,
Mansfield Way, aren't they?
Yeah,
Mansfield Way, over that kind of direction. I mean, again, this going from the Ginetta to the Porsche. I mean, it's obviously it's still under the GT kind of umbrella, isn't it? But is it a completely different car to drive? I always imagine a Porsche would be a lot sort of stiffer or something than a Ginetta. I don't know if that's the case. That's just what that's where my brain goes. But
it's a funny one, yeah. Like I actually find it easier going from Toyota Corolla front-wheel drive to the Porsche this year because it's something totally different. Whereas the Ginetta was like rear-wheel drive, but you could take a lot more speed through the corner. And it just meant when you go into the Porsche is so weird, having the engine at the back, rear-wheel drive. They've not got a lot of front grip. So, when you was used to this Ginetta just barreling through, because they had so much aero, the Ginetta Super Cup, like when it was the really quick ones, it took me a lot to adjust because, your braking was totally different. You didn't have this aerodynamic, on the car to really send it through the corners. So it was quite a bit different. But yeah, having raced something totally different last year, coming into this year, it's kind of like, not carrying those little bad habits over because it's something totally different. So, and we've been really quick from the off this year. So it's, it's been good to sort of get back in where I left off really in the Porsches.
Yeah, absolutely. And excuse me. One thing I do want to touch on, though, I mean, obviously, you said that it took a while to get used to the Ginetta for the Porsche, but it didn't look like it because you, what was it?
First weekend, I think I won.
I think you took fourth on your debut.
Oh, sorry, this year. Yeah.
No, this was back in.
Oh yeah.
18, I think it was 18. You took fourth in your first race and then won the second one. I mean, for someone who's getting used to a car, that's a good start. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was wicked. It was that year I raced really well, but up against Tio Elenas, Dino Zaccarelli, there's some quick drivers, Tom Wrigley. They was getting the most out of it in qualifying because they was sort of second year drivers, things like that, and Dan Harper was as well that year. So I seemed to race a bit better than maybe qualified, mainly because I was a rookie and just getting used to what was the grip levels in qualifying. But yeah, every time it was a race, we went really well, and I think managing to get a few wins that year in my rookie season was brilliant. So, and actually got one at Monza as well when they did the guest round.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Going to Monza, I mean, again, no disrespect to this because we've got some great circuits here, but Monza is such a historic one. It's a legendary circuit. That must be pretty special in a Porsche, in the sunshine, hopefully. I mean, it must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, after the race, you got to sign the book of winners at Monza, which is like this huge book.
Wow.
Going back like over 100 years, that was really special for me. I thought that was a pretty big highlight. I think of all my races, winning at Monza, I'll take.
I mean, that's very cool. I mean, of sort of places that you want to win at, I think in terms of circuits in Europe, I think people would probably say Monza, Spa, and probably the Nürburgring would be the ones that people want to win at. So to have ticked that one off, pretty special. On the other side of the coin, and I mean that in a nice way, Knock Hill, Monza to Knock Hill in the same season, completely different. And I've got here, what was it? You took a win there. Sorry, you took a win there that year. So you won at Monza, won at Knock Hill. I mean, as obviously as spectators, we think, yeah, Monza's sort of relatively flat and fast and quite wide and expansive and awesome. Knock Hill is equally awesome, but for different reasons. It's like a roller coaster, short, punchy track. It's in the hills. You're going to get wet. I mean, how different do you set the cars up? I mean, it must be complete, almost like a different car almost.
No, it's amazing actually. Like, because Carrera Cup, Porsche being a one-make series, there's only so much you can do. So, there's minimum ride heights, there's damper settings that you can only be within a certain range. This year in Carrera Cup GB, there's a minimum tyre pressure, so you can't go below a set amount on your tyres. So they're literally all the same. The cars, it's really close. The teams can only do so much now. So it just comes down to the prep and things like that. But it was amazing because, like I say, very, very different tracks. But actually, Monza in some ways is similar to Knock Hill. You just absolutely cane the curbs in the Cup cars. So I really like that. I really like having the car in the air and sliding around, and it doesn't faze me at all. So those sort of tracks suit me. I mean, I think last year in the Corolla was the only year as well that I didn't win at Knock Hill. Every year I've won there. With Sicily and the BMW, we had a wicked debut win, our first win in touring cars there, and Ginetta Juniors won there in Porsche. So I love Knock Hill. I've always had good results there. It's it's such a small place, a small lap, but it's just a wicked track, and there's still plenty of opportunity to overtake and things like that. So it's one of my favourites.
Yeah, so one of those that everyone seems to love. I think even if you don't have a great weekend there, everyone always has a good time driving around there. Even if and even the fans have a great time. And it's a great place to go racing.
Defo. I mean, someone's touched on it in the comments there, which is very true. The track limits was a bit of an issue there this year. Luckily I didn't get caught out, but it's hard for the judges of fact to do it there because I can't remember what turn it is. The second to last corner, Clark maybe. It's a blind corner as a driver, so you come up onto it, you can't see the exit, so it's really hard to accurately aim where your car's going to land as well off a curb. So the track limits thing there, it doesn't, it's so hard to police, and the judge of fact, I personally think it's too much to ask of people because how can they be writing every lap down? It's not a fair way of doing it. Whereas the MSV ones, you've got the camera to go off. At least that way, it's accurate. So when we use that, it just seems to be a lot less penalties and inconsistency, which kind of ruins it, I think, for the spectators.
Yeah, sure, and that's I think that the other thing as well, and this isn't a dig at the people doing, as the judges of fact. There's always going to be some human error, isn't there? And it'd just be great to come up with a solution that doesn't involve tyre stacks, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, I certainly like
Tim Harvey on it, but there's got to be a solution that. I mean, I came up with something which a lot of people said was good, and then other people said it was a rubbish idea. But basically it's that gravel strip that they used in F1 in Austria this year. I came up with big old curb with a detachable sort of section at the back that you can lift out, chuck some gravel in that's already at the circuit, chuck it in, and if you go over it, and then for the bikes, you just pop the curb back.
Yes.
I mean, that was the idea, but it's probably too expensive. But we need something, don't we? Because the track limits thing is getting...
Yeah, it's getting silly. And the problem is, which if you look at a lot of races, for me, it's normally the leader that comes off worse, or whoever's the first car in qualifying or something like that. Because it's, we saw it at Donington with Matt Rees. He won the race on the track, and then he gets track limits. But he's maybe doing track limits, but so is everyone behind him. But the judge of fact, it's only human, he's not doing anything wrong, but this is how I would interpret it. But they literally see the first car, track limits, bang, write it down. And then the car that's right behind him, which is probably impossible to see their number, has done it as well. But then how do they, differentiate? How does he see that fairly? Because the first car sort of crosses it first. So it's really tricky to police fairly, I think, at the minute.
Yeah, the thing is, I grew up watching motorsport in the mid 80s, so I was sort of 86, 87, 88. And I always remember watching the Austrian Grand Prix. Obviously, it was a longer circuit than they use now. And it was uphill, then right, left, right. And the curbs were like that. They were like 8 inches high, proper monster curves. And the drivers didn't hit them. They sort of thought, that's big.
Yeah.
But then that got taken out of it, and we've got runoff areas, and then there's a gravel, cars dig in and flip. We don't want that. But then we've got Halo now, and cars are stronger, so is that so much of an issue? And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, as driver, there's the whole thing going on. It's curbs, tyre stacks, gravel. Do you stick a barrier there? I mean, as a driver, what would you like to see?
Like you say, it's a tricky one because if you was at Monaco, obviously I'm not fortunate enough to be at Monaco, but if you was on Monaco track, that is self-policing, isn't it, sort of thing?
Yeah.
If you
were Baku this weekend, isn't it? We've got Baku coming up. It's the same thing.
Very similar. It's self-police. So but you can't have a barrier around the track of everyone. So it's got to be down to curbs and gravel and stuff. But say Brands Hatch, the last round, it's never really an issue there because everyone knows if you hit the green, you hit the sensor, you get track limits. No one really seems to do it, but if you where it's to fact, it's just not that concrete evidence. And I think what makes it is bad is just how it's inconsistent. People can see watching it that some people will get done and then some don't, whereas when they know if they hit that camera line 3 times, they seem to know the limits better. So it's a tricky one. For me, the tyre stacks this year in the last couple of years have been a bit of a nightmare because you kind of skim them, you pop your headlight, or you might damage your front bumper, and it's not great really having a stack of tyres that we're going past quite a considerable speed that moves as well. It's not solid, which is kind of worse in a way because it can do more damage in some ways. So and in the race at Donington, it got moved actually, and we got a radio message to say, well, be careful, the stacks have moved, and they moved like a good 2 or 3 foot. So it's like, oh god, wow. This could be dangerous if we didn't have that radio. So I think to be honest, there'll be a lot of discussion with that at the end of the season because it's the track limits thing seems to have got a bit wild this year.
Yeah, so my argument against them is there used to be curbs there, but they were big and hard, so they took them out of the way. And here we are 30 years later, and they're sticking something big and hard in the way. It's like, that's not the way to, and okay, they say drivers should stay on the circuit, but one, it's not that easy. And two, when it does, when something happens and you do go off, it's a huge repair bill, isn't it? And it's teams that have got to foot it, or the drivers have got to take it out of what they bring. And it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. This year's made a lot of damage. I'm as guilty as anyone. I'm trying to get like the last bit out of the car, and if you can just skim it and get away with it, it's like, it might be at Croft, it was like a 10th and a half or something just to get the chicane flat, and it was like a little lift to protect your car. Well, obviously as a driver, you just do it flat, and and then sure enough, come in, there's a headlight hanging off, and there's this, and it's like taped up for the last one. So it does make a lot of damage, but I suppose in some ways it makes it quite exciting. Yeah, I suppose it does. And obviously we do want to avoid what happened with Andy Watson. That was a that's the kind of thing. That's an extreme one, but we don't want that. So yes, I believe. Sorry, that question was brought up by Keith Mail. So thank you, Keith. We have got a question on Twitter for Mr. P. We're going to come to that in a minute, BTCC, because we're going to get to that in a minute. Very quickly though, just to jump back to your career. Obviously, you had a year with Redline Racing, which was very good and went well. Dan Harper was rapid all year and beat everyone out of sight. But then obviously 2020, tough year for everyone. No racing, and a lot of us didn't come out of the other side of it, which we should be grateful that we're still here. You did manage to do a bit of racing though, and I saw you were down. Was it Paul Ricard for the GT4 European Championship?
Yeah,
that was a circuit I always used to like as a kid, and then they put that weird red and blue stuff the side. I can't watch anything there now.
It's it was good. We was kind of supposed to do the whole season, but with COVID and sponsorship and the way things were, it was tricky to do it. So we ended up doing the last round, which was a bit of a baptism of fire. Like me and Seb, we hadn't done any endurance racing, and we did all right. But then the at Carby was in the Aston, been like going really well, so then the bot wasn't great, and it was a bit of a weird weekend. So but I think we finished one race okay, and then we didn't finish second race, but that was kind of my fault. So no, we just did that, and then just had a couple of quiet years because of COVID. It was quite hard to get going again, really, and I was really fortunate enough with Russell and Adam Morgan to have the opportunity to sort of bounce back and in a touring car, which was insane, and such a good car as well. And that was an amazing year for me. I really enjoyed that season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Adam was tuning in. I don't know if he still is. He's probably got kids to look after, which is fair enough.
Army.
Yeah, he has. He's got his little like minions. But I mean, obviously, but coming into a team like Sicily Motorsport, and obviously it was a WSR built BMW, which is always a good place to start, because obviously they know what they're doing somewhat.
Yeah.
And I guess coming in with someone like Adam, who's got experience, there's the family tie, and he knows the team and knows the series. It must have been a great help going straight in, with someone like Adam.
Yeah, definitely. Like Adam was great that season. Me and him had a real laugh that year, and we took everything very seriously. And it was the first year for hybrid. Obviously, just to answer one of the questions as well. It was definitely a goal of mine to get into touring cars. When you're racing on the Toka paddock from 14, it was definitely the goal, like the pinnacle of the paddock. So it was wicked to get into it. But it was the first year for hybrid. There was a lot going on. It was I think as well the championship was trying to work out if that was working, and it was getting adjusted a lot throughout the year. And it should have been a really good year for us, and which it was. But we was unlucky. We got plagued with some of these hybrid teething issues, and my car seemed to be one of those for quite a few of them. So it had this gremlin in it, and we got it sorted for Silverstone, but it needed a whole loom to sort out. And it was good that the lads managed to find it in the end, because and we got some wicked results after that. So it was brilliant. But there was a lot going on. I think now obviously they've changed it again this year, the hybrid, and it seems to have stirred it up a lot more. I think it did make it a bit tricky to sort of have I don't know. It seemed tricky to sort of somebody could be leading the championship and still pole it. The couple of years I was in touring cars, it was a bit more like a Carrera Cup championship. It was just down to the speed. Whereas I think this year it's really spiced it up, hasn't it? With the sort of giving it the reduced power and a bit more on the hybrid.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this year it's doing what it was supposed.
Yes, like that. Yeah.
Which it didn't for the first couple of years. But that year, first off the bat, the car looked brilliant. It was a cool looking car, wasn't it? The black
BMW. The Car Gods livery was awesome.
With the Car Gods guys on it. And you had hooch on the top of the windscreen, which I remember drinking when I was a kid.
Yeah, we still got hooch on the Porsche now, on the wings. So look out for that one.
Yeah, always loved hooch. It was the first sort of alcoholic beverage I was able to buy when I was 18.
Zesty.
I was absolutely 18. It was a nice little throwback. Obviously, we've got to talk though about that first round at Donington. Obviously, it's a circuit you know pretty well. was it you put it 6th in the first race and on the podium in the second one? Did you expect to go that well that soon? Because everyone, I mean, like you were. I forget who won the first couple of races. I can't remember who won. Someone won. Was it Ash or was it Tom? I can't remember. Someone won the first couple of races, and they were getting nothing because it was all talking about you and because you got your podium.
It was Gordon. Gordon Shedden started the year really quick, and then
That's it, Flash. Yeah.
Because I remember chasing him down in that podium. I was in second and like trying to catch him, but obviously the BM on the first couple of laps could be a bit cold earlier in the season, so I was trying to catch him down, chase him down. I got Ingram right behind me, and I haven't raced for a couple of years. I'm like, what am I doing here? Yeah, it's like, I'm sort of used to it, but not, I'm sort of used to racing these lads and different things. But no, it was wicked. To get on the podium so early was really cool, and then it was kind of made it, a bit of pressure there then, because it was like, Christ, we could have a shout at this, So
yeah.
But Brands was tricky to sort of keep the momentum going, because it was that mixed condition, that was like not really favourable for a BM. They like it wet or dry. So it's a weird championship going against front wheel drives in a rear wheel drive. It's one of a kind, really. I don't know if there's any other championship really that does that in the world, but that where it's one make class.
I can't think of any.
But no.
But there aren't many series that get the weather that we do. I mean, even the Aussies, they race in the summer, don't they? So they're all good. But one thing I did want to ask, though, is Donington. Obviously, Flash and Tom were nose to tail going over the line. They were right on each other. I think Tom was right on Flash's bumper. You're in third. Was there a tiny part of you saying, God, bin it?
Definitely, yeah. I'll always sort of be up for it, and I was thinking, God, go on, lads, make this easy. It was, but it was a wicked start to the end, and it was always good at Donington. I always have a lot of support there, and a lot of local family and friends. So it was a good crowd there that day, and luckily made it count.
Yeah, it was awesome, which is and it was great to see. I mean, as I said, like social media just went sort of nuts for George Gamble, which was always cool. Which is a nice thing to see. Someone new in the series getting something like that straight off the bat. As you alluded to, the rest of the season felt a bit up and down, wasn't it? It was just because of, I guess, the car and you learning the series, and then the car being a bit hit and miss with the hybrid, things like that. One thing I did spot though, and I did remember, was obviously, and this is the most memorable bit of the season for a lot of people, was up at Knockhill again, a circuit that you liked. We'll come to race 3 in a minute, but I mean, you were pretty on it all weekend after having a bit of a, I hope you don't mind me saying, a slightly shaky run in terms of results. It hadn't quite gone your way.
Yeah, it was,
and then Knockhill, it just clicked.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like we'd had this little gremlin where the car would just turn off randomly. So it was bizarre, because like at Croft, and it was just all to do with the new hybrid system. It was nothing the team had done, or anything like that. It was all stemmed around this hybrid thing. So, and it was so frustrating, because like even Adam and Russell, it just was like, we were all in it together, and it was like, and like at Croft, say we qualified like 10th, we'd finished 10th in the first one, and then was like a bit forward in race 2, 7th, and then we're in the reverse grid spin for race 3, but then the car would just turn off randomly. So I came out the last corner and turn off, and it did that at Snetterton in qualifying, and in race 1 it did it at, and then obviously race 1 you then starting last for race 2, and that was kind of where I lost some momentum. So it was a bit tricky, but we got it sorted at Knockhill, qualified mint. When well in race 1 and 2, and then reverse grid pole, and off we went into the distance. So it was really cool. And at the last round, what Brands? I think we had a really strong sort of few top sixes and stuff. So it was really good. It was good to show the pace, and I think majority of the time as well, I found it a little bit hard to overtake in the BMW. I think against front wheel drive. So when you're always coming from the back, it was a little bit tricky. So
I'm I've just seen a question from Katie Eames, which we're going to come to. It's her classic question she asks every time. It's all about biscuits and ice cream, which we're going to come to. Just very quickly, though, as you said, you hadn't been racing for a while. You were in the BTCC. You had a great start, and then all of a sudden you're on pole, Knock Hill. What's going through your head? I mean, obviously you must be confident because you've had a good weekend, but you're thinking, I'm on BTCC pole here.
Yeah.
I spoke with Creasy when he was on pole, his first pole at Silverstone, and he said he's started on pole loads of times. He's started on pole in Ginetta's and he's raced loads of races. He says there's something about it when you're on a BTCC grid. He said, you start getting a twitchy foot and you think, what's going on? What was it like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty daunting. The worst bit for me, I don't know, he's a good mate of mine, but was Rory Butcher was second. And obviously he's just the local legend there, and I was like, I know he just sends it, and he's properly on it, Rory. So I was like,
he's like the one guy you didn't want behind you.
Yeah, literally. So I was like, Christ, if we could get off the line and try and build a gap. But again, the BM was like a little bit slow to get going. You couldn't get the heat in the fronts as quick as the front wheel drives and things like that. So. Oh yeah, man, he was on my heels for like the first half of the race, really big time, immense pressure. So it was, he made my life a bit of a misery in that race. But it was wicked to go against Rory up there because he's the man around there.
Yeah. And you sort of fended him off, and in the end, it looked quite fairly comfortable. In the end, I'm sure it wasn't, but. When you cross the line, BTCC race winner, that's got to feel good, isn't it? You must have been loving it.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'd put a lot of work in the pre-season to get back to the grid, and get fit again after a couple of years of COVID and stuff. So mentally it was a lot of prep to get back out there. So it was very rewarding going over the line. I can remember getting a bit emotional, because it was just felt like everything had clicked into place. So it was really cool. Yeah. And it's always cool it always seems to go well there as well. Like we said earlier, it's weird how it always seems to go well at Knock Hill, but
yeah. No, and as I say, like Knock Hill is most people's favourite place, and there's always a lot of attention on it, which is even nicer to get the win there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a sweet one.
Yeah, it was a bit sort of hit and miss thereafter, but a strong end to the season. Was Rory chasing you down? Was it a reason to join Speedworks to get alongside him?
It was, the Speedworks move was really, it was a shame really because obviously Adam went to WSR, so the Sicily sort of option shut down. And we didn't have loads of choice really. There was a few conflicts with sponsors and things like that. So the Toyota opportunity came up, so we went over to there. Rory for sure was a lot of help. Obviously learning front wheel drive and stuff like that. So, but it was a bit of a disastrous year as well. To be fair, we were supposed to have a lot of pre-season testing, which would have obviously been ideal for me, but there was a new engine for the car, so we had a lot of development for that, and it wouldn't run right, and it meant a lot of laps was hindered. So I didn't really get going with the car till the first round at Donington, and then it rained, and it was a lot. It was a lot of blows really that year. So. It made it a bit tricky to learn, but we took on the challenge nonetheless.
Yeah, Speedworks is a decent car. It just felt like things didn't quite click across the team for a number of reasons. It was a bit up and down. I do remember talking to one of my mates saying you've got to be one of the most unlucky people on the grid because about 3 or 4 races on the formation lap. Something just died. I remember Thruxton was one, wasn't it? I think, and it was. I remember thinking, "This guy's cut. What's going on?"
It really was a tough year. I questioned pushing on because it was like it just felt relentless. Every session near enough for the first half of the season, whether it be free practice 1, 2, qualifying, will be a breakdown of some sort, or something had failed, or Snetterton, we was in shot for the reverse grid, and then the fuel line failed on the out lap to pull over, and loads of things went wrong, and it was tough. Yeah, so But I think we DNF'd half the races, so we,
Yeah.
30 races, we only finished like half of them. And Knockhill, weirdly, like good old Knockhill, was the only one I finished all 3. So it was
got
tough.
a top 10 up there as well. But it just showed that when the car switched on, it worked.
Yeah,
There was pace in it.
Yeah, we always raced really well. I think to say I didn't finish half the races, we still got the most overtakes for the year. Did 140 overtakes or something crazy like that. And only over 15 races because I DNF'd half of them. So obviously I was coming from the back a lot of the time because of the issues. But it's still a wicked achievement to get the most overtakes. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we showed some good pace at times, but it was just a bit challenging, really. And touring cars is the same. You can't do a lot of testing, so and it's obviously condensed just to the Saturday, Sunday. So you really got to be on it. You're trying to learn the car. There was a lot of changes with the car, with it having a new engine. So the team was trying to get used to the car as well. And it was just a tough year, really. So, I still really enjoyed my time in touring cars, and it's a hell of a championship. It's and it's wicked to have had a good couple of years in it.
Yeah, absolutely smashing. There's a couple of things actually on that. I saw Dave Cox, known as Zeus. Evening, Dave. I forget where your comment is. Good to see you, mate. He said, "Is unfinished business in the BTCC? Would you go back? Give them the chance?"
Yeah, I think given the chance, yeah, I really like racing in the UK. I love the tracks and and working with some of the brands I do, like Hooch, Ruslan Gold, Barnes and West. A lot of my sponsors that are sort of British based. It just works so well. The tracks, the cars, the championships. So I think the pinnacle of that's probably touring cars. And it's you can't meet the sort of package that it provides. So it'd be great to get sort of involved again. Given the chance. Yeah, and I think there'll be a bit of a shake up maybe next year or the year after when the new regs come out. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting year, I think, for touring cars.
Yeah, see if we can get back in. So I'm going to go back to a question from Mr. P on X, Twitter, whatever it's called these days. Sorry, Mr. P, I don't know your name, but thank you for the question. He says, obviously you've come back to Porsche this year. So do you miss the stresses of the BTCC, and or do you appreciate the little bit more relaxed financial status of the Porsches?
Yeah, there's no doubt the stresses of the BTCC was crazy. It was like the Sunday would be so intense. You sort of getting up at like 6, getting over to the truck for 7, and literally not stopping all day till it could be 8, 9 at night sometimes. But like honestly, the Monday after a race weekend was crazy. It was like such an adrenaline crash. 3 really intense races as well thrown in the mix, and not so bad with Sicily, but with Toyota last year, there's a lot of manufacturer related activities, going to like stands and things like that, and there wasn't a minute to yourself, and actually it's quite hard to get yourself if you just had a bad race or something's gone wrong, and then you got to just click out of that quickly and thrown into a bit of an event. It's different because the Porsche Championship, you can really focus on your prep and your race weekend and put the max in. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on with touring cars, so it is quite stressful.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then you get people who run motorsport pages running up to you asking for interviews. Makes it even worse, doesn't it?
No, it's all right, mate. We've always got time for you.
Thank you. Good stuff. Okay, just a couple of other quick ones before we get onto this year, and then we'll let you go because I know you've got stuff to do. Sharon, she has said, "What gives you the biggest adrenaline rush, BMW or Porsche on the grid?" Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think the Porsches are a really cool machine to drive. They're so fast, and the adrenaline rush of one of those things bouncing around Knockhill or Thruxtons is pretty cool. The BMW in touring cars was really cool, and I think the racing's good. But to be fair, this year in Porsches, the racing's been brilliant. you can overtake, you can make some moves, and actually it's been really good this year. I think I've had some real good results where you come through the pack, and you might not win. Like at Donington, we got second, but like we come from P10 and things like that. Sometimes that's better than a win, just hacking through and getting some good positions game.
Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, let's see. Just before we get into this season, very, very quickly, Diffan Evans, who asked a couple of questions earlier. Evening, Diffan. Hope you're well, mate. He says, is this roughly the time of year that you would start to have discussions with teams, or would you have started conversations back during the summer break? I guess that's just for looking into next season and possibilities.
Yeah, I think there's 2 rounds left for me and touring class. So yeah, it's sort of when conversations get initiated. Oh, what you thinking doing next year and things like that. So yeah, my focus is to try and win this championship this year. It'd be a wicked achievement. And we're right in the mix. So that'll be the main goal. And if you do that, I think that does a lot of the talking for you. And you've proved yourself pretty well there in a one mate cup. So yeah, see what we can do.
To see where things are in a month or so. Good stuff. Okay, where are we? I think it's very, very quick. Okay, yeah, I just want to touch on this season quickly. There's the inevitable question about costs of BTCC. You've gone from Porsche, you've said it's cheaper and it's the finances are kept more in check. I don't want to spend too long on this, but there's a few drivers have left the BTCC grid this year, guys like you and Jack, Dan Lloyd, Stephen Jelly, and obviously Rory's gone for his own reasons, and guys like that. You've stepped away. Just how difficult is it to raise the funds out there? Because I've spoken to a few people, and I'm not going to name names or numbers, but some of the numbers that were being mentioned to me were colossal. I guess, was that a big driver behind you moving back to Porsches, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, I think there was a good. The thing was, for me, it was a really cool opportunity to be in a really quick car, and in Porsche Carrera Cup, Nathan and Sentry and Rosengold, they have proved themselves the last couple of years as a front runner constantly, and to be able to have the opportunity to be in that car that is capable of winning the championship was a big plus for me. So the guys and girls at the team are properly on it at Sentry. So I didn't want to pass up on that opportunity, to be honest. And the problem is in touring cars, there's sort of more cars being run by less teams. So you've got maybe 4 BMWs, 3 Astras. They're all run by the same guys. So it's hard to not have conflicts of sponsors and things like that. There's issues. Right. So and to be fair, I think the championship was a little bit up and down the last few years. So I think I'm happy to be in the proving myself in something that's probably the most competitive year of Porsches in the last few years. We've had 8 different winners this year, and it's like all hell on trying to win it. So and it's good to have, like you say, Stephen, Dan Lloyd, and myself, and a few people that's come down from touring cars into it, and and I think it's proved itself as a really tough championship. So it's been, but I'm glad to be there, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely right. A quick shout on Rosalind Gold. The car looks the nuts. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. A cool looking car. I mean, because the thing is, I'm old, a bit older. I grew up with like the black and gold JPS Lotus, and it just gives me little vibes of that.
Yes, it's actually Martini themed. If like on the Martini liveries, if you break it down in the colours, it's just but in the Rosalind colours. So it's a wicked livery. It gets a lot of cool feedback.
Yeah, love it. Just quickly on this season, obviously you've had some wins and podiums. You're right in the title shout. Just quickly, Donington was lively. We're not going to talk about the qualifying because I know you weren't happy after it. But those 2 drives, and especially I think avoiding, it was Angus, wasn't it? Had a spin coming out of Redgate down Craners and stuff. When that happens, you must think, no, this is going to undo my good work, because I mean, you had a brilliant Sunday, didn't you? Sunday was
we had a wicked Sunday. Obviously Saturday was a disaster. We crashed with one of our rivals in qualifying, and it wasn't a lot of damage, but it just popped a rad, and it wasn't really safe to run the car we could have done more damage. So we decided to sit out. So it was a Saturday night. It was a little bit rough, but then to wake up Sunday morning, I'm on the last row of the grid. Managed to get into the top 10 race 1, and then P2 in race 2. So we gained 20 spots in 2 races. So I've not seen anyone do that recent years. So I honestly felt like a win in the second race, and we was having to hang on for dear life. Lost the splitter, and it was a bit battle scarred, the car, bless it. So like I say, we're only 7 points behind, and we've got Silverstone and Brands 4 races left. So I think it's all on. We can have a good stab at this fight. It's going to be. I think Hugo's going to be the one to sort of challenge me, and he's been really fast this year. So it'd be good. We had a wicked race, me and him at Donington on the Sunday. It was super clean, super fair racing. So I'm looking forward to seeing if I can close the gap to him a little bit at Silverstone, and take it to Brands.
Yeah, let's hope so. And that move around the outside of Redgate was great. I love watching that. You've got to love a move around the outside, haven't you?
Yeah, it was like I say, we set it up at at Redgate, and it went on all the way down to Old Hairpin. So and it just shows you how much respect we got for each other. There was no contact. We were just doing like 140 mile an hour side by side, and it was all on. So yeah, it's going to be a good last couple of rounds. So keep your eyes peeled on the championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll be at both, so I'm looking forward to it. I was just checking the comments, make sure we've covered everything, which I think we have. Also, I know you've got to go driving down to London soon, so I'm going to let you crack on very shortly. Just very quickly, we'll do some little fun questions here at the end. Just some little fun ones, just to wind down. We're going to start with Katie Eames, the top question. What's your favourite biscuit?
It's got to be a chocolate digestive. It's got to be the go-to, hasn't it?
Absolutely right.
Gosh.
Absolutely right. Actually, you might want to have a word with Abby Eaton. She's got she's gone for the caramel ones. The caramel.
Oh wow, yeah, they're a bit posh there for me.
Yeah. That's Abby, isn't it? She loves a biscuit. Favorite ice cream flavour?
Crikey, I don't know, praise. Vanilla, probably.
Yeah, sturdy effort. Okay, and she said, if you could drive any track in any car, what would they be? Whether they be racing cars or track day cars or whatever.
Crikey, I really like my Porsches, so I think it would be GT3 Cup car like I'm in now, or a GT3 RS, probably around some wicked track. Some of the American ones look cool, like Laguna Seca, and some of these ones, like over there look wicked. So I'd be keen to try some of those, maybe a little tour.
Yeah. I think some big beefy GT thing around Laguna Seca or Road America or Road Atlanta.
Yeah, just get a GT3 RS. Well, like just pull one out of thin air, but get one of those and do a tour of all the tracks. So, like you say, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would absolutely do, wouldn't it? Okay, just a nice little quick one. Okay, did you have a favourite driver growing up when you were young, when you were watching the old telly box?
Yeah, I used to. Valentino Rossi was always like the legend for me. I used to love watching the MotoGP and that. And
so glad you've said that.
Yeah, it was always like watching bikes and that for us when we was a kid. And we actually, it was really cool watching my brother now race against him, and like it was overtaking him at Brands Hatch. It was like, what? This was who me and my brothers was just watching all the time when we were kids. So it was proper cool, that. But he was a legend, wasn't he, growing up? So.
Because people who follow the page wouldn't know it, but I'm a massive bikes fan. I don't put many bikes on there because he hasn't really got the following. But yeah, Valentino Rossi's the man, isn't he?
Nope.
Sorry, folks. No idea what happened there. Anyway, I was saying, yes, obviously growing up as a kid, it was Kevin Schwantz and then Valentino Rossi were those two top draw bikers. But yeah, very cool. So glad you said
Yeah,
Rossi. Okay, have you got a favourite car that you've raced, and have you got a favourite circuit to race on?
I think of all the tracks I've driven, it'd have to be Spa. I think Spa's pretty cool. Yeah, some of the classic stuff I've actually been driving has been really cool. Like we've been driving these the 1965 classic Porsches in the 2 litre historic championship. So they're all 2 litre air cooled Porsches. It's like Carrera Cup from the 60s, and they're just wicked fun. You just sideways for the whole lap on a tyre with inner tubes in, that's from the 60s. It's wild. So yeah, they're really different, and there's just something different to the modern stuff. So I've been really enjoying the classics this year, sort of last few years.
Fantastic. That's very cool. You've got to love a classic car, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Love it. Okay, last question, and it's an absolute stinker, and I don't know why I ask it, but I do anyway. You shared the track with lots and lots of very, very, very good drivers. I'm a few of them, obviously from the guys like Ed Jones you mentioned earlier, but from the Porsches you've got Seb Perez, Tyrrell and Max Coates. Like Dino Zamparelli. You've then guys like Jake Dennis and all the touring car guys, and Aaron and Adam and Dan Camish and Rory, Jake, and even the guys like Larry Tenford and Harry King. You've shared the track with Michael Ammermuller. I saw that once.
Yeah.
But then guys, and then obviously the touring car guys, like Flash and Jason Plato. I believe you shared it with Plato. Rob Huff and Turkington, Alex Albon, and loads of guys that you've shared the track with. Are there any that kind of have stood out, maybe not as being the best, but just special or a bit different, or someone that you just really admire the way they went racing?
I can remember like doing a winter test once at PFI, and it was like wet, and it was a go-karting called, it was in KF2. It was at the time, so it was like the senior go-kart front brakes, and they're really quick, around PFI, and it was wet, and it was the first year that the CIK World Finals came to PFI, so I'm there testing. Max Verstappen rolls up with his old man, and he's doing his first few laps ready, for the European final. He'd never even seen the track before, and he's like, and I lived right near it, so I knew it well in the wet and stuff, and he's just come flying past you, like you stood still, and he'd never driven the track before, and he just almost looked back as if to say, "I thought you was local," It's like it was mad, He was insanely fast. To say he'd never seen this place, I can remember just him coming by thinking, "Jesus Christ, he was fast."
Wow.
So, but he was seriously determined lad. So, but I never raced him. I can remember him this test day, and the image just stuck in my mind. Then I just thought that was one that come to mind. But yeah, he was a serious talent. I think that's why I've got full respect for him now, because I think he is seriously good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and people say, "Oh, it's just a car," and obviously that got leveled at Lewis, and it gets leveled at everyone. But okay, the car's important, but the driver helps, doesn't it? And Max is very good.
In all his go-karting stuff, he always had good equipment, but he wasn't always on the best stuff, and he'd always do a really good job. So he was kind of my era really. So I think he was a little bit younger than me, but he was the talk of the sort of every paddock when he was a kid. So he was definitely doing something right.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, final one, because it's come right at the very last. Thomas Parker, evening, Thomas. This is the last one. What's been your most enjoyable championship to compete in? And that's it.
I think the touring cast is pretty cool. To be a part of that, it's just got so much history, and it's really cool to have your sort of name amongst that, and to get a win in there. So I was that first year in the BMW with Sicily was wicked, to be honest. There was a lot of cool moments in that year that I'll not forget.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. Right, well, I think that's a great time to finish. We've run over by 9 minutes. Sorry, George.
All right, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and buzzing to be on the show.
Okay, great stuff. Well, thank you very much for coming on, guys. Thank you very much for all the comments and the questions. I think we've covered them all. And Diffan has just said thank you for giving up your schedule to do this Q&A, and best of luck for the end of the season. And I think we all echo that. We all wish you all the best, and let's hope there's a championship coming your way at the end of it.
Yep, brilliant. Yeah, thanks ever so much. Cheers, Rich.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.
Great stuff, and we'll see you next Wednesday. We're announcing the next one tomorrow, so stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.